feet
going up
of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Asatara Satasi Siman Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my two Shiksha Gurus, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Asatara Satasi Siman Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, and Srila Bhakti Gaur Kishordas Babaji and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Radha Kund, Shama Kund for their appearance day tomorrow. And I offer my humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today. My Dandavat pranams to one and all. Oh, just in time. Just in time. You got here just in time. Hi, how you doing there, young man? Hi. These are your two kids, huh, Namin? These are your kids?
My kids?
Yeah.
These are my kids?
Okay. Nice. Hi, kids. Hi, kids.
We just had another baby 2 days ago.
Wow.
No, it's working. Red means working.
Oh, it is working.
Yeah. Right on the front means it's live.
All right. So tomorrow is the appearance of Radha Kund. We're talking about Radha Kund today. Vaikantaj janito vara madhu puri tatrapi rasotsavad vrindaranyam udara pani Ramanati tatrapi govardhana Radha kundam nihapi gokulapate premam traplavanat kuryat asya virajato giritate sevam vivekti va naka. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because Krishna's Rasa Lila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prem of the land of Gokula. Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve the divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Purport. The spiritual world is 3/4 of the total creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is the most exalted region. The spiritual world is naturally superior to the material world. However, Mathura and the adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to the spiritual world because the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself appeared at Mathura. Interior forests of Vrindavan are considered superior to Mathura because of the presence of the 12 forests Dwarathavan, such as Talavan, Madhuvan, Bahulavan, which are famous for the various pastimes of the Lord. Thus the interior Vrindavan forest is considered superior to Mathura. But superior to these forests is the divine Govardhan Hill because Krishna lifted Govardhan hill like an umbrella, raising it with his lotus-like beautiful hand to protect his associates, the denizens of Braj, from the torrential rain sent by the angry Indra, king of the demigods. It is also at Govardhan hill that Krishna tends the cows with his cowherd friends, and there also he had his rendezvous with his most beloved Sri Radha and engaged in loving pastimes with her. Mukunda, can you get the Anarpita Chiram Chala up on your... at the foot of Govardhan, Sri Radha and engaged in loving pastimes with her. Radhakunda at the foot of Govardhan is superior to all because it is there that love of Krishna overflows. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radhakund because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani, Rati Vilas. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, it is stated that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first visited the area of Braj Bhumi, he could not at first find the location of Radhakund. This means that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually searching for the exact location of Radhakund. Finally, he found the holy spot, and there was a small pond there. He took his bath in that small pond and told his devotees that the actual Radhakund was situated there. Later, the pond was excavated by Lord Chaitanya's devotees, headed first by the 6 Goswamis such as Rupa Raghunath Das. Presently, there is a large lake known as Radhakund there. Sri Rupa Goswami has given much stress to Radhakund because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to find it. Who then would give up Radhakund and try to reside elsewhere? No person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radhakund, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava Sampradayas, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance of the divine nature of Radhakund. The importance of Radhakund, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava Sampradayas, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radhakund. Thus, Radhakund is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah. So,
read it out?
Yeah, you can read it out. He's going to read out this verse. It's important, this verse.
Otherwise, no one can hear you online.
Anarpita chirinchirat karunavatirana kalo samarpayitum unat ujjala rasam shabhakti sriyam haripurita sundara jukti kadhamba sandipita sadaridaya kandre spurito va sachinandana. May that Lord who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi be transcendentally situated in the innermost core of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love.
Okay. So this is an important point. He has come to give that which has never been bestowed before. Yes. Huh?
In this day of Brahma.
Yes, in this day of Brahma. He has come to give him which has not have been bestowed before. Why? Because. What is he giving? Some people, it's true. He's saying conjugal love. But what's part of the conjugal love? Part of the conjugal love is understanding Radhakund. Why the other Vaishnava Sampradayas they don't realize the importance of Radha Kund. Why the other Vaishnava Sampradayas don't understand that Krishna in Dwarka is perfect, Krishna in Mathura is more perfect, and Krishna in Vrindavan is most perfect. Why the other Vaishnava Sampradayas don't understand that Krishna manifests in Braj simultaneously when he manifested in Mathura. Why don't they understand these things?
Because it's hidden.
Yes, and Mahaprabhu has revealed it. That which has not been given before in this day of Brahma is being given by Mahaprabhu. He is giving what was not given in the other scriptures, even in the Puranas and all these other things. He is giving that. So he is giving Radhakund. It says here that he found the pond and then he bathed in it and he said, this is Radhakund. Now you worship this Radhakund. He is giving what hasn't been given before. There's a verse Jiva Goswami points out in Gopal Champu. I don't remember the exact flow of the verse, but basically the gist of the verse is that it's from the Bhagavatam, that Sri Krishna resides in the house of Nanda Maharaj eternally. He eternally resides in the house of Nanda Maharaj. Not that he's born in Mathura and then he comes to the house of Nanda Maharaj. And he's always there. He appears there, he lives there, he's always there. Jiva Goswami points this out and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives it as evidence. I'm going into all this because there's this devotee online who's mainly a Sri Vaishnava. He took initiation from Prabhupada, but he's mainly a Sri Vaishnava. And he's just, no, Harivamsa doesn't say it. Harivamsa doesn't say it. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. Krishna appears in Mathura. There's not three Krishnas. That's some fantasy of the Goswamis. I said, the Goswamis are not medieval scholars. The Goswamis are the Manjaris. They live with Krishna eternally. But they don't get it. They don't understand it. The other Sampradayas cannot understand what is Radhakund, what is Krishna's appearance in the in Vrindavan, or any of these things. They cannot understand. This is why the Ramanandis, who are a branch of Ramanuja Sampradaya, came to tell the king in Jaipur that you take Radharani off the altar. She doesn't belong there. We don't need her. You just worship Krishna. And Baldev Vijabhushan defeated them completely. Defeated them. So, all of these Sampradayas, they cannot understand. Because Mahaprabhu has given this for the first time. He has given all these things for the first time. It's all connected. All of this is connected. Krishna's appearance in Braj, Krishna's Radhakund, Krishna's being in three Krishnas in three different places. This is not a fantasy. This is the reality. And the fantasy is those persons who can't understand the position of Krishna as given by the Manjaris and by Mahaprabhu. He says right here, Prabhupada, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radhakund. If you're in the other Sampradayas, if you're initiated into the other Sampradayas, and if you don't understand or you're uninterested in devotional service to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you can't understand Radhakund. You can't understand Manjari Bhav. You can't understand Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan. You can't understand these things. It's not possible to understand any of this. It will completely elude you because it is specifically right here. Thus, Radhakund is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It comes here. Here it is. in this line. Now you think of this. Now you try to understand this. You try to understand how there's 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. Huh? There's about 850 million Hindus. Amongst them, there is maybe 100 million or more who are in those Vaishnava Sampradayas, actually initiated into the Sampradayas and follow the Sampradayas. Okay? They're Vaishnavas. Among that, there's only a few million who are actually Gaudiya Vaishnavas. You try to think of this. You try to understand how narrow the actual window is. And how fortunate we are to actually take birth in this very narrow, high-level conception of God. Is it possible that everyone can obtain this? Yes, it's possible. But how many are actually obtaining? How few of us are actually in it? How few of us are actually involved and tasting it? This is the key. This is very important to understand. So important. What is this Radha Kund? No one can understand it except those who are Gaudiya Vaishnavas who worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Other than that, it cannot be understood. That is only one small point I wanted to bring up, simply because I've been having this debate on Facebook with this devotee insisting that these concepts are fantasies of the Goswamis. In Antya Lila, chapter 1, it's right there. Mahaprabhu himself tells Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami comes from Vrindavan to meet Mahaprabhu in Puri. On the way in Orissa, he stays in a small village called Satyabhamapur. And in Satyabhamapur, when he stays there, okay, then at that time, when he stays in Satyabhamapur, he has this dream. And in this dream, he sees Satyabhama and she tells him, "You're writing this big drama." Because he was writing a drama about Krishna in Dwarka, Mathura, and Vrindavan, like one large drama. She said, "You should make it into 2 dramas. One about Vrindavan and one about Mathura." This is why Gaura Maharaj made that book, Mathura and Vrindavan. He wanted to emphasize the separation, the difference, the understanding of the difference of the two. So then what happens? When Rupa Goswami goes, this is in the same chapter, Antya Lila chapter 1, when he goes there to Puri, and he's staying with Haridas Thakur. So while he's staying there with Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu comes to visit him. And then before Mahaprabhu leaves, he looks at Rupa Goswami and he says, "You should know that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan." So he confirms this point. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Krishna is always there in Vrindavan. As Jiva Goswami points out in Gopal Champu, that verse from the Bhagavatam which says that Krishna eternally lives in the house of Nanda Maharaj. Not that he's born in Mathura and he comes, no. Mathura manifests in Mathura and Sham Sundar manifests in Vrindavan. And so this is the understanding. This is the proper understanding. This is the vision. And so this conception that to say that it is a fantasy of the Goswamis. But this is all because these people don't have a connection to Mahaprabhu or the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya correctly. They may have formally taken initiation in the Sampradaya, but at heart, they're Ramanujis. I had a godbrother. His name was Rakshana. This guy was the most lethal Kshatriya on the planet. He could literally touch you with one finger in the right place and knock you flat on your back. He was an amazing, powerful man. He had lost the bottom of his right leg in Vietnam. Did you ever meet Rakshana? You never met Rakshana.
Maybe back in the day.
So he was Prabhupada's bodyguard because no problem. He's there, Prabhupada's protected. So he told me that when he was guarding Prabhupada one night, Prabhupada got up like he does early in the morning, everyone's sleeping. He gets up to do his writing. So he thought, I'm going to take an opportunity to go in when he's alone now and ask him a question. So he goes in there and he says to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, it's my desire that someday I want to be on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, fighting on the side of Arjuna and Krishna against the Kauravas. I want to be in that war. I want to be in that battle. Is this possible, Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada told him, he said, you have been a warrior for many, many births. He said, and someday you will be on the battlefield of Kurukshetra fighting with Arjuna and Krishna against the Kauravas. That is your destiny, he said. He said, most of my disciples, they're worshippers of Vishnu and Narayan and like this, he said. Only some have real Braj mood. So although this godbrother of mine took initiation from Prabhupada, he doesn't have the Braj mood. He has the Aishwarya mood. He has the Sri Rangam mood, Krishna on the couch of Ananta Shesh. That's his mood. He married a girl from there. That's the way he believes. That's what he believes. That's what he follows. He knows all of their pujas and everything. This is what he does. So he can't understand. And I pointed this out to him and he still didn't accept. No, I believe in Krishna. But I believe in Krishna who appeared in Mathura. That's what all the scriptures say. I said, Mahaprabhu gave something that wasn't there before. No, it's not possible. Yeah. Because they don't accept Mahaprabhu. Because they don't accept the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Because they don't accept the Sampradaya. They don't understand. Therefore, Radhakund cannot be understood or worshipped by anyone from the other Vaishnava Sampradayas or anyone who's uninterested in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priya Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Sevaika Vishnu Rat Yanta Bhalava. Among all the gopis, Srimati Radha is Sri Krishna's Pranabalava, the dearmost beloved of his life. Similarly, Radha's dear Kund is also extremely dear to him. That's from the Padma Purana. The Varaha Purana. O Shri Radha Kund, O Shri Krishna Kund, you destroy all sins and award liberation in the form of praying. I bow down to you again and again. The different Puranas are filled with innumerable descriptions of the glories of these two Kunds. In the Brajabilas Stava, text 53, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami prays, Sri Govardhan is the arena of the nectarine Ras, where the most confidential amorous pastimes of the divine couple take place. Because it and other places are situated in Sri Vrindavan, Vrindavan has become exceedingly charming. Yet, the glories of Vrindavan, what to speak of Braj Mandala's other pastime places, are not equal to a mere shadow of a particle of the glories of Radhakund, Sri Radhakund. I take shelter of the Sri Radhakund, which is more dear to Mukunda than his own life. And these are verses glorifying Radhakund. So, how Radhakund appears, one demon came in the form of a bull, Aristasura. And Krishna had to kill this demon because he was terrorizing the whole of Vrindavan. So he kills Aristasura, and then that night he meets with Srimati Radhika. And he was very eager to embrace Srimati Radhika, but as soon as he went to embrace her, she refused. She stepped back and jokingly she said, "Today you have killed a bull, which belongs to the cow family. You have heretofore committed the sin of killing a cow. Please do not touch my pure body." Smiling, Krishna answered, "Oh, dearmost one, I killed a demon who has deceitfully assumed the form of a bull. So how can sin touch me?" Srimati Radhika insisted, "Whatever he was in the form of a bull when you killed him. So, you are definitely guilty of the sin of killing a cow." All the Sakis, all the different gopis completely supported Radharani's words, which gave Krishna consternation. So Krishna wanted to know, okay, Srimati ji, so how can I atone for the sin of killing the bull? What is the process for atoning for this? She smiled and said, "The only atonement is to bathe in every holy place in the world." Like this, she thought she was going to give Krishna some difficulty. And Krishna smiled, and he created a big kunda by striking his heel in the ground. Simply by taking his heel and pushing it in the ground, he created a kunda. Krishna's the Supreme Personality of God, so his ability to create whatever he wants. Gurudev was telling me how Lalita Kund, we were in Seva Kunj. There's a Lalita Kund there. There's another one at Govardhan, but there's one at Seva Kunj. So Gurudev took me once. It was just me, him, and Madhav Maharaj. We went on a little parikram. We went to Radha Damodar. We went to Lalita Kunj. The Seva Kunj, we went to Gopishwara Mahadev, and we went to Vamshivat. So when we go to Lalita Kunj, when we go to Seva Kunj, we come upon Lalita Kunj, and he turns to me and he says, "One night, Krishna was dancing with Lalita, dancing and dancing and dancing here with Lalita until she was completely exhausted." He said she was sweating, she was thirsty, she was tired. So he said, Krishna took his flute, and Gurudev made this thing like, taking the end of the flute, holding it like this, and he pushed it in the ground. And then a big kund came, and he called all the sacred rivers, and they came in that kund, and then Lalita drank the water and then took bath. So here we see that he creates the kund with his heel, pushes his heel in the ground, and then he summons all the holy places from all over the planet to come there, all the holy rivers. Uncountable holy places promptly came before Krishna in their personified forms, and Krishna asked them to enter the kund as water. Within a moment, the kund was filled with pure sacred water. When Sri Krishna had bathed in that kund, he again tried to embrace Srimati Ji, but in response to the bragging of her dear most beloved, Srimati Radhika now wanted to manifest a kund full of water that was larger and more exquisite than Krishna's. She and her Sakis stubbornly dug out a very attractive kund nearby with their bracelets. So they took off their bracelets and they dug. So Krishna joked, because no water appeared in the kund, Krishna joked that they could take water from his kund. But Radhika didn't want. She didn't want that. Radhika wanted to get the water from Manasa Ganga. So Sri Krishna signaled to the holy places that they should insist that Srimati Ji and her Sakis fill up their kund with water from his. The holy places personified prayed to Srimati Radhika and her Sakis and glorified them in many ways. Thus, they pleased her. She gave them permission to enter her kunda, and immediately a current of water flowed from Krishna kund into Radha kund. And with great pleasure, Sri Krishna bathed and sported with Srimati Radhika and the Sakis in the water of his dear kund. He says that the two kundas manifested at midnight on Krishna Astami, the 8th day of the dark moon in the month of Kartik. Therefore, thousands of people bathe here at midnight on this day, which is known as Bahulastami. The Padma Purana states, radiantly beautiful Sri Radha Kund is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill. Faithful people who bathe there, here on Krishnastami in the month of Kartik, receive Prem Bhakti and thus serve Sri Radha Kunja Bihari, Sri Radha Kunja Bihari Sri Hari. This same Purana also states unalloyed devotees of Sri Radha Krishna who go to Sri Radha Kund on the day of Dipavali in the month of Kartik and are granted a vision of the complete Braj Mandala as well as the entire universe. So, everything that we need to know about Radha Kund, Gurudev has given us. He's so merciful. Prabhupada has given us deep insight into the actual position of Radha Kund that is exclusively worshipped by the followers of Lord Chaitanya and those in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And Srila Gurudev has given us the details of the glories of Sri Radhakunda and how it manifests by giving us all the verses from the Puranas. So in this way, by the mercy of our Gurus, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev, we've come to understand the glories of Sri Radhakunda. Anybody have any questions or comments? Mukunda, you have something?
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
question, specifically related to Bathing and Radhakund. Srila Prabhupada had said one thing to some disciples, and then Srila Guru Dev, I think, said something different. So what is your current understanding of Bathing and Radhakund and Maharashtra?
Here's the situation. The first time Prabhupada's disciples, hey, Shamakund, Hare Krishna, how are you, sir? The first time that Srila Prabhupada's disciples came to Radhakund, Prabhupada told them they could bathe in Radhakund. So what happened was, they started, having water fights and cannonballing into Radhakund and, just being Western, Ugrakarmi actors, and bouncing around in Radhakund like it was, a pool. So people complained to Prabhupada, the locals, that this is not proper. So Prabhupada said, okay, don't take a bath in Radhakund anymore. Just go up there, bow down, take some water, put it on your head, that's all. So then, of course, Narayan Maharaj didn't know the history of what had happened. So because he didn't know the history of what had happened, when we did Narayan Maharaj was asked by Prabhupada, I have all the statements from the audio tapes. I have them on my computer. I did a thorough search of their conversations in Vrindavan. I was there. It's in the conversations on the database. It's in the conversations on the database. October 8th of 1977, I arrived in Vrindavan in the morning, and I came to see Prabhupada, and they say to Prabhupada, look, Bhagavat has just come. Bhagavat has just come. He lost so much weight. So he's come here. Prabhupada said, oh, very good. I told him, he said, how you have lost? I said, I did Chaturmas. Like this. There was some discussion, so I was there. That night, Narayan Maharaj and Prabhupada had a long conversation. It's recorded in Bengali or Hindi, and then it was translated. The conversation was translated into English by some devotees from ISKCON, Bengali devotees from ISKCON, and Bengali devotees from Narayan Maharaj's group. They translated it together and agreed on what the words and statements were. There were some confusion, some confusion about certain words and phrases and statements, because at the time when they did it, in the 1990s, they didn't have software that was as good as we had in 2010 when I did a review of it. And I had a guy who was a recording producer. He worked in studios doing recordings. So he knew all about the software. And we ran all the conversations through that software. And I had a Bengali woman who was a university student in America. She spoke fluent Bengali and English. And we reviewed everything together, and I know every single statement. Every single statement. Very clear. Prabhupada, there's a particular conversation in which Prabhupada says to Tamal Krishna, when the time comes, you call Narayan Maharaj, and he will do everything. So he makes it clear that this was his desire, that Narayan Maharaj should do the Samadhi ceremony. So it was also clear when we went with Narayan Maharaj, we traveled with him on the parikram, Prabhupada's request was that his body should be taken to all the 7 temples in Vrindavan for a final darshan. And this is a ritual that's done when any of the mahantas of any of the temples or any of the Goswamis leave. They sit, they're put on a palanquin and they're taken on a parikram around Vrindavan to take a final darshan of all the 7 temples. And then they're laid in the samadhi. We had no idea how to do this, because when you arrive at each temple, there's a whole ritual that goes on. The Goswamis of that temple will come out, they'll do arti, they'll offer garlands, they'll give prasad, and you have to give them something, you have to give them garlands, you have to give them some prasad, you have to give them a donation. We had no idea what to do. Without Narayan Maharaj, it would have been complete lost. Thank you. He was the one who took us through that parikram. He led the kirtans with the devotees, and he supervised all the rituals at every temple and all the ceremonies and everything that had to be done. Then the next day, after the samadhi ceremony was over, Prabhupada had wanted to go on a parikram of Govardhan, so we did a parikram of Govardhan with the deity of Prabhupada on a bullock cart. And we went around Govardhan. We did the full Govardhan parikram. We ended at Radhakund. And there at Radhakund, Prabhupada that deity was bathed at the Sangam, the two where the Radhakund and Shamakund meet. And this Sangam is the kunja of Ananga Manjari. This is where Ananga Manjari lives, who is the younger sister of Radharani, who is the expansion of Balaram, who is the only one who relishes both Gopi Bhav and Manjari Bhav. Because this is how Akhanda Guru Tattva gives these moods through this expansion of Ananga Manjari. So, after the bathing of Prabhupada and dressing of him and putting him on his throne and then putting him, so then we had accomplished all of that. So then he said, okay, now all of you, very nicely, you remove your clothes and you take a dip, you put on your gumshoes and you take a dip, he said. Take a dip in Radhakund, which is what we did. Everybody very respectfully, went into Radhakund with their gumsha on and dipped their head underneath, and, we did the proper ritual. Nobody did cannonballs into Radhakund and had water polo fights in the Radhakund. We did, that was what we street boys did years ago when Prabhupada first brought us there, because that's what we were. We were street boys. We were kids who grew up on the streets fighting with each other, and Prabhupada brought us to Vrindavan. We didn't know how to behave. So when he saw that we behaved like monsters, he said, okay, don't swim anymore in Radhakund, right? Just go there, bow down, put a few drops on your head. That's all, because you don't know how to respect it. So, Narayan Maharaj asked us to bathe, not knowing anything about the history of what Prabhupada said concerning this. He said, okay, now you take a dip in Radhakund. Everyone take, yeah. And so we all did. We put on our gumsha, we went in, we took a dip in Radhakund, and we came out. But nobody was disrespectful. We all respected Radhakund. And that was all. That was what it was. That was what happened. So the confusion over all of this is just, it's just hardline. There's hardliners who hold on. It's like someone said to me the other day, Prabhupada didn't see anyone who was a Bhaktivedanta in 1977. So why should you take the title Bhaktivedanta? I said, so what you're saying is that no one can make any advancement between 1977 and now? In 40 years, I can't become qualified to be Bhaktivedanta? Is that what you're telling me? No one is qualified to be Bhakti Vedanta because Prabhupada didn't see anyone back then. So in 40 years we're not making any advancement. So this is the quality of disciples he's created? That we're so bad that we can't be Bhakti Vedanta? This is just, this kind of vision, this kind of view is very narrow-minded. Just because it didn't take place, we see so many things that Srila Prabhupada did that his Guru Maharaj forbid. And when we were in California recently, I did a tour. So Janava and Radhika Manchanda, they're doing kirtan tours now together. So Janava wanted to play mridanga. So Badayan Maharaj had been there. Badayan Maharaj is a very strong traditionalist. So he said, well look, he said, Bhakti Siddhanta didn't allow women to play mridanga. You're not really supposed to play mridanga. That's the way he conducts his mutt. The way Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada conducted his mutt, that's the way he conducts his mutt. That's the way his guru, Pramod Puri Maharaj, conducted his mutt, who's Prabhupada's godbrother. So, Radhika Manchanda went into a complete tither. What is this? Bhakti Siddhanta's repressing women. I said, look, leave your Berkeley left-wing education outside. It's got nothing to do with the Sampradaya. Bhakti Siddhanta is not a repressor of women. He's an upholder of the Dharma, of the Vaishnava Dharma. And at that time, at that place, in that circumstance, if he allowed women to play mridanga, it would have been a disaster. So, no, women couldn't play mridanga. They couldn't sing in the temple in front of the deities. They couldn't give class, and they couldn't go on the altar and do puja. But when Prabhupada came to America, he saw these women are not going to be able to tolerate this kind of thing. So he let them go on the altar. He let them sing. Prabhupada let Kaushalya sing in India at the Bombay Pandal, where there was 20,000 people. 20,000 people. And he told her, he said, okay, you sing, you go up front and you sing and you lead the kirtan. She led this kirtan. She had all 20,000 people on their feet dancing. And then he called her over and she bowed down, she put her head on Prabhupada's lap and he was petting her in front of everyone, blessing her for how she inspired everyone to chant. They're completely different than what Bhakti Siddhanta did. Why? Because time, place, and circumstance, you have to understand. So if one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, Bhakti Siddhanta wouldn't allow that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, we're not in that time anymore. We're in another time. We're in another place. We're in a different circumstance. So Prabhupada and Gurudev allowed the girls to lead kirtan, to play mridanga, to give class, to do puja, to go on the altar. But in Vrindavan, Prabhupada didn't allow the women to go on the altar. Only the men. Because he bows to the authority of the culture, okay? So the culture dictates in that place that the women can't go on the altar. So there he wouldn't allow it, but in America, it's allowed. So this is the thing. Jai Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Radha Govinda Mahaprabhu, Shri Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Srila Bharti Maharaj Ki Jai. So everything is time, place, and circumstance. Everything is time, place, and circumstance. We have to look at it from that perspective. And Desha Kalapatra is important. So when we look at Desha Kalapatra, we see that when Prabhupada first brought his ragtag army from the streets of New York and San Francisco to Radhakund, they were bouncing up and down in Radhakund like it was a playpen or a city pool. And so Prabhupada said, all right, don't do this anymore. Just go there, bow down, put a few drops on your head, that's it. But when we became a little more mature, 7 years later, then Narayana Maharaj said, take a dip. So we took a dip, and we did it respectfully. I go to Radhakund, and I take a dip. In Radhakund, I take a dip in Shamakund. I put my head underneath, I do the whole thing. I was with Prabhupada, I took him to Puri, and he took baths in Puri, in the ocean, and there's a way. You go in, you cover the senses, you cover the 5 senses. You have to cover the ears, I forget how it's done, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the ears. You cover these senses. And then you dip your head underneath the water, and then you come out. This is the process. Prabhupada did it, We were taking palmfuls of water and tossing it on Prabhupada and singing, Chintamani Pragadasad Masu Kalpuri. We did a bathing ceremony with Prabhupada in Puri. So, Prabhupada went there in the ocean, he took that bath in Puri. So, and I also saw the film of him taking bath in the Yamuna. Same thing, he did the same thing, dipped his head in the water and the whole thing. So, everything is Desha Kalapatra. We have to look at time, place, and circumstance. And the Acharya's responsibility is to adjust things according to that time, place, and circumstance. So, although Bhaktisiddhanta didn't allow them to play mridanga or sing, Puri Maharaj allowed them to sing, but he didn't allow them to play mridanga. So, Bodhaya Maharaj follows that. Each Acharya is going to adjust things according to the time, place, and circumstance of the people that he's dealing with in each situation. And there's no harm in that. And so we completely understand what Prabhupada was doing. It was disrespectful to go into Radhakund and cannonball into Radhakund and have water fights. That was disrespectful. So therefore, we bowed to that authority. Then when we were trained how to do it properly, take a dip, then we did that was okay. So it wasn't that anyone was trying to be disrespectful of Prabhupada's order, or that someone was trying to be in defiance of Prabhupada's order, or to change anything that Prabhupada gave us. It wasn't like that. It was a matter of seeing the time, place, and circumstance, and adjusting things accordingly. That's all. Any other questions? Anybody have?
That's the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he originally discovers Radhakund. It's at that point, isn't it just kind of almost just like a small little?
Yeah, it's just a small pond.
I was hearing that it was like even not even smaller than that. It was just like almost something like this.
Well, I don't know. It says here that he took a bath in it. It had to be big. Mahaprabhu was 7 feet tall.
Was it a rice paddy, just a little bit of water? And,
yeah.
So in that sense, that how does Radhika? I guess from an external point of view, it makes sense that she can get covered. But how does such a divine pond such as Radhika even get covered like that? No one was worshipping, none of the Vaishnava acharyas, even the ones that were kind of underground, so to say.
This is the whole point of that verse. And Arpita Chadim Chad, come to give, which is not what has not been given before. I've come to give what was not have been given before. Conjugal love. where's the highest appearance of conjugal love? Radha-kund. So what hasn't been given before, he's giving. He's giving in a very beautiful way. And this is why, I don't know if you know the story, the actual sequence of the yugas is Satya, Dwarpa, Treta, Kali. Not Satya, Treta, Dwarpa. It's Satya, Dwarpa, Treta. Satya is first, Dwarpa 2, Treta 3, Kali 4. So how did it get switched around? This is what happened. In Satya Yuga, there was a great rishi, Gautam Rishi. The Gautam Rishi, he was married to this very beautiful woman whose name was Ahalya. Ahalya was actually so beautiful, he was more beautiful than the women in heaven, in the Apsaras in heaven. Prabhupada one time, he said, in order to give us an idea of how beautiful the gopis were, he said, the most beautiful woman in the world looks like a frog in comparison to the Apsaras of heaven. And the most beautiful Apsara of heaven looks like a frog in comparison to the gopis. He gave us this comparison so that we could have some kind of a parameter by which we could measure how beautiful the gopis were. Inconceivable how beautiful the gopis are. So, Ahalya was as beautiful, more beautiful than the women in heaven. She was considered the most beautiful woman in the universe. So, Gautam Rishi was married to her, and he used to get up early every morning and go to the river and do all these pujas and bathing and everything, the rituals that they do. You know. So he leaves this one morning, and then within just a few seconds after he left, like a minute, he comes back. And he says to his wife, I have some desire for you. So in Vedic culture, you know, the wife, whenever the husband says, I have a desire, she satisfies the desire of the husband. And whenever the wife says she wants a child, then the husband satisfies the desire of giving her a child. This is Vedic culture. So he comes to her, and she satisfies him. As soon as she starts to satisfy him, she realizes, this is not my husband. Because you're familiar with the moves of your partner in the bed. When you're performing conjugal love with your partner, you know how your partner moves, how your partner acts, how your partner does different things. There's certain ways that they approach you. And this person was not approaching her that way, so she understood, it's not my husband. This is a demigod who's come as my husband. It was Indra. It was Indra who came as Gautam, because Indra was thinking, I have the most beautiful women in the universe in heaven, but Ahalya is more beautiful than them. I want that also. This is the nature of Indra. So, Indra finishes with her, then he gets up and he leaves. And about 15 minutes later, Gautam shows up, and he's looking at his wife, and he knows. Because Gautam knows past, present, and future. So he's looking at her, and he knows. You did this. So he said to her, this is unacceptable. She said, but I didn't know. I thought it was you. He said, you thought it was me when you saw, but you knew it wasn't me when he came to you, isn't it? So she had to admit the truth, because she knows that her husband can read the consciousness of a living being. So she said, yes, you're right. I knew it was not you once you came, but what was I to do at that point? He said, you should have refused. So he said, I'm cursing you to become a stone out in front of this hermitage, and you'll have to stay there in the form of a stone until Lord Ram comes in Treta Yuga and touches your body with his foot, and then you'll turn back into Ahalya. So she says, this is such a cruel punishment you're giving me. So she said, can't you change this? So he said, well, I can't change the curse now that I've given it to you. He said, what I can do is change the yugas. So what he did was he switched the yugas.
What?
So that the Treta Yuga would come right after Satya, and Dwapara would come after Treta. But there was a reason for this. Because this was the Divya Yuga that Mahaprabhu was coming. And if Mahaprabhu was going to excavate all of the holy places of Krishna, it had to come closer to Kali Yuga than it came. If it came in Dwapara Yuga, and then Treta Yuga, and then Kali Yuga, it would have been lost completely. So what happened was, now everything gets upended, changed, and turned around. Treta Yuga goes next, right after Satya Yuga, and Ram appears at the beginning of Treta Yuga. Then Dwapara Yuga comes after that, and Krishna comes at the end of Dwapara Yuga, so that it goes right into Kali Yuga, so that these holy places can be excavated and found by Mahaprabhu. So it's a grand scheme of things that have to be adjusted and fixed in order for Mahaprabhu's appearance to be properly accommodated.
Is that, I've heard the story of Ahalya and Indra, but is that specific point, the second point that you make as to why the yugas were switched, is that in like what Sastra is?
The way I was told when I was a young man. I don't know where it's written. Is it written somewhere? Brahma Bhagavat. I heard the story orally in India, and I was heard that this was the reason why it happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I never heard of this. That's a nice story.
Yeah.
I never.
Huh?
Also, it was also the desire of the Lord to set up so that the rasa of each lila of the Lord would go in progression. Because the rasas, they go in progression.
Right.
From Satyayuga, where there's primarily worship and Dasya rasa, in the Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, with Ramachandra, there'll be Maryada, right? And there'll be 2.5 rasas which become prominent. But the seeds of all 5 rasas present in Ramlila, the 2.5 rasas are manifest. Then after Ramlila, because in the Dakshin Ramayana, I asked Srila Gurudev once, because he always tells the story, that Kaikeyi, that Ramachandra, when he was a small boy, he asked Kaikeyi to banish him to the forest when he became of age. So, in all of Valmiki Ramayana, it's not written there. Ramcharitmanas is also not written. So I asked Gurudev, I've not seen Valmiki Ramayana, not seen. He said, it's so written in Ramayanas. Because there's so many Bhava-bhuti, there's so many different manifestations of Ramayana, and Mahabharata as well. So then Madhav Maharaj, which one Madhav Maharaj told, it's directly written in Dakshin Ramayana in South India. So he gave the reference for where it was written. So this was because by asking for Kaikeyi to banish him to the forest, he could then begin to appreciate Banvas, which is the essential ingredient of Krishna Lila, enjoying the forest of Vrindavan. Also, by Sita's kidnapping, he would experience what is Viroha, separation. This becomes the essential quality of Radha Krishna Lila, is separation. Navina Vikulavina Sambhu Krishnayashnate. Without separation, meeting is not fellowship. So all the seeds of Krishna Lila planted in Ram Lila, and they manifest in Krishna Lila, but in Krishna Lila still, Purva Braj Vilasa Dina Vilas. three things will remain that Krishna himself could not taste, even though Krishna Lila has all the highest class of Leelas, including Samyak Sarvasana Krishna, Ras Lila. Even Ras Lila is present. But he's still three things he could not taste. Those three things are mentioned first chapter of Adi Lila. What is Radhika's pranay? It means her praying. But pranay specifically, I'm not going into that. But what is her pranay? How she experiences Krishna's madhuri, and what kind of happiness as a result of that she feels. These things Krishna could not taste in the position of Vishaya Jatiya. So now Mahaprabhu comes, and in Mahaprabhu's Leela, not only he can experience now these three things, having received the mood of Radhika, but now all the other devotees from previous incarnations, they can come into Gaur Leela, and through Vaishishta kind of Dasyaras, they can taste the intensity of that kind of praying. So that's written in Chaitanya Charitamrita, with that verse. Urava api etan vajanti bhagavat priya. So it says here that all vajanti bhagavat priya means all the dear devotees from previous incarnations, like Jai Vijay, like Murari Gupta became Hanuman, or Hanuman became Murari Gupta. Premaiva Gopa Ramanam Kamam iti agamat pratam, this verse. Right? Udava Adayo, headed by Udava, Udava Adayo Pietan Vajanti Bhagavat Priya. All the dear devotees headed by Udava, they could come into Gaur Leela, and Kama iti agamat pratam means that kind of calm praying. They will not change their sarup to taste Madhurya Ras, but the intensity of that Madhurya Ras will be tasted in a special kind of Dasyaras to Mahaprabhu. So all the devotees of previous incarnations come into Gaur Leela, and in the Satyapraha Leela, Mahaprabhu's 21-hour pastime, he shows every devotee. All the devotees during that time, they saw their own Ishtadev. Varaha, Narasingha, Mahaprabhu manifested all to prove that same Mahaprabhu would come and all the incarnations were inside of him.
Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is often shown depicting different avatars.
Different avatars. For this reason, to prove to those devotees. Because the Lord, when he comes primarily to please the bhaktas, not to deliver jivas. Jivas are delivered by the devotees. So, paritranaya sadhunam, anugrahaya bhaktanam, the Lord comes to please his devotees. Those devotees, their hearts overflow and they save the jivas in this world.
Many of the acharyas have said that Ram Leela was in the previous Mahayuga. So it's split on that. Maybe you can mention something about that. Yes.
The previous Divya Yuga, you mean?
The last.
Right, the previous Divya Yuga.
You're meaning the Leela when the things are switched. Is that what you mean?
The last Yuga. Right now we're, in the Vaishnav. The last million,
In other words, the cycle
there's 12 million years instead of,
Oh, I see. So the Yuga cycles, he came in the last also. Yes, but as Maharaj told, that he comes though in the sequence that it's Satya, Dharma, Kreta, Kali.
But if he already appeared, so what does Ram Leela have to do?
No.
Progression, if he's already appeared in the previous year.
No. Every cycle they appear. Every cycle.
No, according to what David said, that Ram. Anyway, we've had this discussion before. Other devotees that have had, trying to did Ram Leela appear in this yuga or the previous yuga. So
I don't understand the question.
He's what he's saying is
I can find it.
that in the previous Divya Yuga, not this Divya Yuga, but the previous Divya Yuga, Ram came. But that would be impossible because the Leela, according to the Brahma Bhagavat Purana, took place in this Divya Yuga.
Okay.
For the purpose.
I'll show it to you.
Well, you can show me anything you want to show me, but I'm telling you what the Brahma Bhagavat Purana says. The Brahma Bhagavat Purana makes it very clear, as Prabhu knows. This is the way I heard the story when I was in India, probably from Gaur Govinda Maharaj. I can't remember where I heard it now, but I probably heard it from him. That this pastime of Ahalya takes place in this Satya Yuga, in this Divya Yuga.
Right. So what is does that have to do with Ram Leela?
Because she gets released by Lord Ram's touch
Earlier.
in Treta Yuga.
Okay, so you're saying this is not correct. The acharyas that have said this in the previous Divi Yuga, that's not correct.
Previous Divya Yuga means that when Mahaprabhu comes, that's called Divya Yuga means when the cycles go around 4 times.
Right.
That happens continuously.
Right.
Even Mahaprabhu comes every Kali Yuga, but he comes as Gauri Narayan. In one day of Brahma, the 28th day of Brahma, he comes as Mahaprabhu like we're knowing now. Every other Kali Yuga he comes as Gauri Narayan.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'm not. On this point, I'll bring it to you, where some of the acharyas have said, or Splenda, that Ms. Ram Leela was the previous.
Which acharyas say that? Are they Gaudiya
We read
acharyas?
this. We read it directly in one of the reports, and then so.
Are they Gaudiya acharyas? Because if they're not Gaudiya acharyas, then they'll have a different
I
view.
believe they were.
Huh?
I believe they were. We read it in one of the books.
Prabhupada sometimes quotes
Sanatana Goswami that this may be, as far as I remember.
Oh, no. No, in Vaishnav Toshini, and also in Lava Toshini of the Jiva Shamipad, they will say sometimes some leelas can be conflated. In other words, this happened in previous yuga, this happened in other yuga, and both leelas are put together.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. Yeah, like Varaha. There are
No,
two.
that's.
Yeah, like that, there's the
we know
different
that
forms of
we're
two
on.
forms of
That's
Raha.
already known, that's a different thing. This is something saying that this
Oh,
comes
okay.
with.
I mean, there are acharyas that Prabhupada quotes, Vishvareta Acharya from Madhva Sampradaya, and some of the other acharyas from Madhva Sampradaya who wrote commentaries on Bhagavatam. And he quotes those personalities sometimes, but their vision will be more in line with the Madhva line that doesn't accept Radhakund or Mahaprabhu or any of these things. That'll be a different vision, a different conception.
Sometimes acharyas will quote, just like in Sandarbhas, I'm asking him to come. So in the Sandarbhas, for instance, Jiva Goswami, when he wanted to discuss Jiva Tattva,
Yeah.
he did not take from the writings of Madhvacharya, he took from Jaimatri Rishi, who's in the line of Ramanujacharya.
Yeah.
The quotes are from Padma Puran, but he took the commentary of Jaimatri Rishi, particularly because there are some nuances in the commentary of Jaimatri Rishi which are more suitable to the teachings of Mahaprabhu.
Yeah. Well, even Mahaprabhu took something from each sampradaya that was suitable to what he wanted to express. And if we look at it from the perspective, of how in Navadvitam Mahatmya, each acharya meets Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. So on one hand, you can say, oh, Mahaprabhu took something from each acharya. But on the other hand, you could say, Mahaprabhu gave something to each acharya,
Yes.
which they expressed in their writings. And then it appears that he took it from them, but actually, just like we read in Rai Ramanand Sambhav, Mahaprabhu, Roy Ramananda, that word is there, I forget the word, but it means that he absorbed this wisdom from Mahaprabhu, the way the rain, the cloud takes the rain, the water from the ocean. There's a particular word, I can't remember the word, but like this. And so he absorbs that wisdom, and then he repeats it to Mahaprabhu, rains it into, Gurudev says, into the oyster-like ears of Mahaprabhu. Ramananda Roy rains this knowledge into his oyster-like ears. I think that book is over there, Roy Ramananda Sambhav. Over there or over here, I don't remember. Anyway, so then later on, that's the 8th chapter. Then the 18th chapter, he goes to see Rupa. In the beginning, it says, whatever Ramananda gave Mahaprabhu, he gave that to Rupa. And then in that first chapter of the Antilila, at the end of the discussion where Rupa Goswami is explaining his writings from Lalita Madhava, Ramananda Roy is there, he hears it all, and he says to Mahaprabhu, surely what you're given Rupa now he's expressing here. So it's like a circle. Like the whole thing is a circle. So you could say that Mahaprabhu is taking, but actually Mahaprabhu is giving. In the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, they all met him, then he gave them something, then they expressed it, then he took what he wanted from them. Alright, so now it's time for Arati.
Offering doesn't need made yet.
Huh?
Offering not made yet. You can just.
Remember we were eating.
It's in the Lagu Bhagavatamrita something about when Lord Ramachandra came. I heard that. It was mentioned there by Rupa Goswami or Sanam Goswami about Rupa, which particular Treta Yuga he came in. It wasn't this one. He mentions which one it was. Like two. I think I remember that quote. Yeah.
Another Divya Yuga.
Yeah. So, anyways, that quote is there.
Then there would be no reason for the yugas to be changed.
Yeah, good point.
Well, that's why. That's why.
Huh?
They said they also arranged for the purpose of the rasa unfolding the rasa. So
Right, of course, and that's another, you know, you explain the yugas from Rasa Tattva. I explain them from another, but it's...
But that lila is
yeah.
the mechanism by which they change.
Right. So if Ram doesn't come in that Treta Yuga, then where is that Rasa?
That's what I'm trying to. That's why I'm asking this, because it's once we read this and we discussed it a bit.
He has to come in both yugas.
Some other devotees are, and so we were trying to figure out, well, if it wasn't this Divya Yuga, then just like, like Prabhu was describing, so what does it have to do?
You know, just like in Lagu Bhagavatamrita, there's that verse that seems to indicate that Kalki doesn't come at the end of Kali Yuga when Mahaprabhu comes. But I've got 1,000 quotes from Prabhupada where he's saying, Kalki's coming at the end of the... It's just like, you know...
But then Srila Gurudev said that even if Kalki Avatar comes, he'll be dancing in Kirtan. This is a move on.
Because I remember the devotees were asking Prabhupada, he gave this lecture on Kalki, and they were asking Prabhupada, where are we going to be when Kalki comes? He said, no, he said, at the end of the 10,000 years of the golden age, all my disciples will be with me. You won't be here when Kalki comes.
We could do here we can either keep discussing or we could do some sort of, we can do like Damodar Astakam possibly. We didn't do it during Bhajans.
You can do some kirtan or bhajans, whatever you like to do. Huh? Thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. And your beautiful katha about the progression of rasas. And here he comes. Here he comes. He comes in and immediately
Goes for the gong.
Noise. Noise does. Okay, yeah, no, thank you for that beautiful explanation of the progression of the rasas.
Oh.
All right. So, let's do some kirtan.
We can do like Namami Nandanandanam.
Sure, whatever you like.
We also haven't sang
I gotta go to the toilet.
Visharam, have we?
Yeah, so then we can do Namami Nandanandanam and then I like that he annoyed the name again. No, he's not. I figured it. Oh, man. good.
I will do. Okay. No, I'm actually.
I like Namami Nandanam. Can you say that 5 times fast?
There's a tongue twister. This one.
Dead on the 3rd try. It was dead.
Hare Krishna. Shri Ram Govinda ki jai. Shri Bhakti Bhagavat Maharaja ki jai. Krishna ki jai. Shri Gurudev ki jai. Suchar Suvastra Mandalam Sukararata Kundalam Suchar Sitan Vajandana Namami Nandanam Namami Nandanam
Namah
सागरे कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् तथा प्रलासलोलनीलोचनावलोकने तथा दुरन्मिलन्मनोज्ञमूढमोहनाश्रिते कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् सुवर्णमालिकञ्चितातिरेककं मुकन्दते विस्तुत्रमङ्गली गुणातिरात्मदीप्तिदीप्तिते सरलनीलकुन्तला प्रसूनगुचकुञ्चिते कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् बिम्बबिम्बलम्बमानपुष्पमेकलागुणे प्रश्नस्तरात्मकिङ्करी कथापमजमञ्जुले करीन्द्रसुन्दरान्तिकावरोहसो भगवते कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनङ्गे मन्त्रनादमञ्जुनुपुररभास्कर समाजराजहंसवंसनिपनादिगौरवे विलोलहेमवालरीविदं विचारुचक्रमे कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनन्तकोटिविष्णुलोकनम्रपद्मचाचिते हिमाद्रिजापुलोमज विचिञ्चिजापरापदे अपारसिद्धिरिदिदिग्रसात्मनान्दुलीयके कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् महेश्वरी प्रियेश्वरी स्वदेश्वरी सुरेश्वरी श्रीवेदवादियेश्वरी प्रमाणसामहेश्वरी रामेश्वरी सदेश्वरी नमोदगानहेश्वरी तथाश्वरी व्रजाधिके स्थिराधिके नमोऽस्तुते इतिममं पुतं स्तवं निसंयमानुनन्दिनी करोतु सान्तकं जनं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् पवित्रदैव सञ्चिताद्विरूपधर्मनाशनम् पवित्ररावचन्द्रसूनमन्दराप्रवेशने कथा करिष्यसि हमं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे नमामीश्वरां सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् वासत्कुदारां गोकुले व्रजमानम् Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Satchinandana, Jaya Gora Hari, 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 Jaya Satchinandana, Jaya Hari, Jaya Satchinandana, Jaya Gora Hari, Jaya Satchinandana, Gora Hari, Jaya Satchinandana, Gora Hari, Jaya Satchinandana, Jaya Satchinandana, Gora Hari, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Radhe 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 Radhe, Jaya Hare Rama, Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Ram Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Sikhatari Radhe Shama Shama Radhe Shama Shama वृंदावन में धन जावे गौत जन मनहारी वृंदावन में धन जावे गौत जन मनहारी वृंदावन में धन जावे गौत जन मनहारी वृंदावन में धन जावे गौत जन Radhe तुम्हारी जय